All right. Hello. We are here again with another amazing Lightning Ventures founder interview. I am lucky to be with Joseph Kelly, the CEO and co-founder for Unchained Capital. Now, who's that? Unchained Capital, right? If you've been living under a rock, all right, with your head in the sand and not paying any attention to the Bitcoin world, you may not know about Unchained Capital. But if you're one of the cool kids and paying attention out there, you are more than familiar with everything that they're doing. Okay. And what are they doing? They're doing darn near everything. Okay. They're doing so much stuff, it's hard to even list it all. Okay. We're going to talk about business accounts. We're going to talk about personal accounts. We're going to talk about retirement accounts, IRAs, custody, trading, loans, concierge type of onboarding services, right? A slew of educational stuff. They do a lot. They've grown into a monster, a behemoth of a company here, and we are pleased that they are letting us participate in our little ragtag group of Bitcoin only investors. So, Joe, thanks for coming and hanging out today. And how are you?
Great, Mike. It's a great day in Austin. It's starting to get cool here. Sun's out though, and yeah, it may be bear market, but we're doing well.
All right, cool. So exactly that, right? Spoiler alert, if you didn't know, Unchained is in the mecca of Bitcoin land in Austin. They are right there in the heart of it. And I think you have this really cool space. I haven't been there yet myself personally. The Commons, right? You want to just chat about that real quick? What is that?
The Bitcoin Commons, yeah, it was something that we were really keen to invest in when it came time to move to a new space earlier this year, and so we've basically leased a floor here in downtown Austin, Sixth and Congress, historical building, predates the Federal Reserve. Really great spot to kind of build a culture and have an identity around where you go to work. A lot of our people were keen to kind of come back to the office after the pandemic and be working from home for so long. But something also important for us in the investment and something we have the room to do with the floor we have is really dedicate an area that's segregated its own suite to what we call the Bitcoin Commons. It's meant to be really a common area for Bitcoin companies. There's members, there's sponsors that come there and come to work. Marty Bent has a podcast studio that he records the Tales from the Crypt out of. There's conference rooms for rent. And yeah, overall, like on any given day, you can definitely see half a dozen, just a dozen folks in there. Generally all Bitcoin developers working on an app or a startup. It's really cool to see. And then monthly, and actually at least 2 or 3 times a week now, I'm not 2 or 3 times a month, there is some form of Bitcoin meetup, the monthly Bitcoin developer meetup. There's a local Austin Bitcoin club. Attendees range from like 15 to 150 people. Although bear market probably has more muted cap at like 80 to 100 folks for the bit devs.
So is that open for everyone then? Can any developer or person that's kind of in the Austin area work there and get like a day pass or purchase something? Or is it just for the companies that are there?
I think certainly if you're here in town and you're in the Bitcoin community, it's pretty easy to get in for a day. There are memberships though, if people are going to be there ongoing, and any of the meetups though, those are all open to the public.
So there you go. If you have Joe's email address, just email him personally when you're going to be in Austin and he'll get you in there. Okay.
Sure, yeah,
So let's dive right in. I don't even know where to start. Unchained over the years has went from this multi-sig and they're doing some lending to now they are just full on Bitcoin financial services in every category.
yeah,
So I guess we can start with the lending business, right? And
sure,
actually, we have a question from the group is with all your sort of now diversified revenue, okay,
yeah.
whether it's coming from the IRA or it's the custody, where does the lending revenue sit? Is that still the bulk of it? Now you've got some trading fees. We're going to talk about your intermediate goals of really building out the more robust trading side of things. But
Yeah.
how does that revenue make up the lion's share? Is it still the lending?
It's I'd say still it's the largest revenue line. Um, across the categories. Our main three revenue lines are lending, trading, and retirement. And so, yeah, lending is the largest of those. It's the one we've been doing the longest, most historical activity there. And we earn revenues from it for origination fees, as well as the spread we make on our cost of capital and the loans and the interest rates we issue them at.
So you've managed, and we don't have to talk about this for too long, but you've managed to get past this amazing milestone in Bitcoin. They call it this systemic risk moment, right? This Lehman Brothers type scare where you had the BlockFi, Celsius, Voyager, 3AC. There's probably a few others that I'm forgetting, right? They're halted deposits.
A lot of fatalities.
Yeah. So, it's systemic, but yet you guys really weren't affected. So it can't be that systemic. So for anyone who may not know, what's one difference between Unchained Capital versus some of these other kind of lending institutions that got their legs chopped out?
Yeah, the primary difference and really the heart of it is that we always do only over collateralized lending, where the borrower's collateral is segregated. And that meant that when it came to a lowering price and that kind of market, we always had the collateral we could go get to recover principal, margin calls weren't being met, and nothing was commingled. So any issues with one borrower isn't going to affect the collateral or collateral maintenance for any other borrower. And so that kind of keeping things unique and segregated per loan and per client really ensured there was no, even within Unchained's portfolio, there's no systemic risk. A lot of the risk you had at those other shops were just kind of one borrower goes under, one account really falls under, and then that starts affecting the broader accounts and then the firm's balance sheet, and then kind of everybody gets taken under.
So in short, by not being a scam company sort of running your deposits as like a casino, you've managed to escape it.
That's definitely another way to characterize it. That would be accurate. Yes.
Okay, cool. So I have another question here. I'm not sure what's off limits or what isn't, but as far as your debt partners, how you secure capital if you're not kind of rehypothecating, if you're not playing those games that these other people are, is that like a strategic partnership with maybe an investor or someone that you can talk to there on how you kind of secured? I don't know if it's a warehouse line or whatever they call it, but do you want to go into that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, happy to. And we can definitely mention one of the partners is very public. It's NYDIG. They provided a significant lending capital commitment last year around the time of our Series A. So that's been one of our primary, if not kind of largest, capital partners for issuing our loans. Beyond that, we have a number of traditional credit funds, some kind of hybrid funds that play in the cryptocurrency industry, as well as individuals and family offices. So kind of a diverse makeup of folks that we source capital from that are interested in the return our loans generate and find that kind of risk-adjusted basis for that to be attractive.
So in short, by not being a scam company sort of running your deposits as like a casino, you've managed to escape it.
That's definitely another way to characterize it. That would be accurate. Yes.
Okay, cool. So I have another question here. I'm not sure what's off limits or what isn't, but as far as your debt partners, how you secure capital if you're not kind of rehypothecating, if you're not playing those games that these other people are, is that like a strategic partnership with maybe an investor or someone that you can talk to there on how you kind of secured? I don't know if it's a warehouse line or whatever they call it, but do you want to go into that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, happy to. And we can definitely mention one of the partners is very public. It's NYDIG. They provided a significant lending capital commitment last year around the time of our Series A. So that's been one of our primary, if not kind of largest, capital partners for issuing our loans. Beyond that, we have a number of traditional credit funds, some kind of hybrid funds that play in the cryptocurrency industry, as well as individuals and family offices. So kind of a diverse makeup of folks that we source capital from that are interested in the return our loans generate and find that kind of risk-adjusted basis for that to be attractive.
Okay, so two things. One, you don't pay, you pay interest to people. Is that what you just said?
When it comes to financing our loans, yes. Insofar as our loans are a product that clients take dollars from us, they pay back those dollars over time, but they also pay interest. those dollars get sourced from a capital partner, like a NYDIG, or those others that I mentioned. And so then we are in effect, yielding interest back to those folks.
Right. So that's I've got like three bundled questions here for the loans,
Yeah.
which is why is there not a public way that some of these other platforms that are in trouble now? Why is there not a way for the public to kind of earn some sort of yield, right? Now maybe that's not on Bitcoin that's rehypothecated, but maybe it is on dollars or something. Is it an
Yeah.
MTL sort of issue or
It's a great question. Regulations can be an aspect if you're taking dollars from people with some sort of promise around those dollars. You can trip up in issues, advertising and structuring for that product. In our case, we've kind of made the decision early on to not necessarily go that route, go the route of a peer-to-peer lender. Kind of because if you watch the fate of a lot of the peer-to-peer lenders that really started up in the traditional financial services over the last decade or two, all of them, Lending Club, all these platforms, they all ended up being just kind of swamped and owned by hedge funds anyways. That even though they kind of start with that promise of the everyman can participate in these loans and get an 8% or 10% return, things like that, that increasingly just the way those operations is ultimately scaled is you'd like to get your dollars in bulk. You go for the wholesale dollar, get $100 million of it at a time that you can source at this cost of capital, and then put that out in your product on individual loans. And so just kind of as a business and on a return, like marginal return of what product offering and what to invest in and how do we service, maybe 1,000 investors with their deposits with us versus the 10 to 20 hedge funds and major credit partners we work with for the same, maybe potentially same aggregate amount of capital. There's just some efficiency there, and that's kind of something that we've just grown up to witness and learned is that's kind of how the capital markets work. That you tend to look for those more wholesale partners, and that's where you tend to get the lower cost of capital at bigger size. Not to say we won't do something like that someday. That I think it's interesting and a good offering, and certainly a lot of our clients are people who believe in Bitcoin, and so look at the yields of our loans and see that as a very potentially attractive product for them and their dollars. Just not something we've been able to prioritize in our roadmap.
okay? So we have like 300 questions here. I'm going to do my best to rapid fire a lot of them out here. Okay. So has the rising interest rates affected your margins on that cost of capital? And are those ultimately then pushed off? I haven't been monitoring the rates. I know that it was usually low double digits. Maybe there was a promo or something for a 1% here and there. I don't know if that's kind of passed off, but that's the question.
Yeah, it certainly does affect us as anyone, anywhere that needs to source dollars for something and sources those through a credit-like instrument. That those costs of capital have gone up. We did raise our interest rates in the summer. We may raise them yet again, but yeah, that is kind of a fact of life and part of business, and the overall economic climate these days is a higher rate environment.
So year over year, just to give everyone an idea, their loan business has doubled. That is not only the assets on the platform, but the loan book has more than doubled in the past year. And us over here at Lightning Ventures, myself, I love to invest in companies that withstand, depressed Bitcoin price periods. Okay. And there are a lot of companies that we've invested in that are having record months and that are doing very well. And I think that Unchained is a perfect example of a company that is not sensitive to the Bitcoin price. Now, people that are facing liquidations and other things that happen with how they manage their accounts, that's another story. But as far as their business, right, which we're going to talk about, all the other metrics as far as total Bitcoin on the platform and vaults and the sheer number of vaults that have been going on. Okay, so intermediate term, all right, highest priority right now is scaling trading. Now, trading is relatively new for the Unchained platform. That was something that you couldn't do before. I don't know if I'd call it trading because I think the minimum purchase is like $2,000.
Right.
But what's going on with this? How's it been so far? And what are the plans?
Yeah, so trading, first it was affectionately called Buy Bitcoin. We do support on a limited basis some selling activity, but it was something clients could do for a while through Telegram with us. So really operating more like an over-the-counter trading counterparty. Now, I'm part of scaling trading. What we launched this summer, actually in August, is more of a automated capability for clients to purchase in the application. So they can put in their order size, wire us dollars, and then we deposit Bitcoin directly into their vault. So really a convenience type product, also something more secure. There's no transactions that clients have to go through of staging how to get coin off of Coinbase and things like that. It's a really compelling value proposition and something you can do really quickly. You can put an order, wire some money that same morning, and get the Bitcoin that afternoon. So it's a pretty quick product or quick and efficient way to get Bitcoin to your long-term cold storage.
So how does this work on a state-by-state basis with where it started and where it is today?
So we started in a limited geographic area, just places that we could offer this kind of product without needing a money transmission license. That footprint is limited to about a dozen states or so. And over the last year, a little over a year, we've worked with our chief compliance officer to expand the trading geography. So now that we have MTLs in well over another dozen states, I think we might be in 30 some odd states by now. Maybe we've climbed over that even recently.
Okay. So the IRA,
Yeah.
the IRA is live. Okay.
Yeah.
This is not an idea. All right. This is, you can actually open up an IRA with Unchained. It looks like you chewed through the backlog, right? So how did that go from launch to right now? What type of growth are you seeing?
It's been a great product for us. We first really kind of devised and set in the direction of launching our IRA in that kind of late summer of 2021 through the acquisition of KeyKeeper IRA and Jeff Bandrew, who joined us with that acquisition. So Jeff had really been an OG in this kind of IRA business, and through his business, KeyKeeper helped many clients get set up with their own IRA for which they hold their own keys. So the know-how and knowledge and the practicality to make this product work here. So in the few months after joining, we did build up this kind of backlog or this wait list of people that wanted in on an IRA, and then opened up, I think in like December, I want to say of 2021, between kind of December and January, started really opening it up. And certainly out of the gate, while there's a wait list to work through, it was great, healthy months. And then I'd say it has been one of our most successful product launches as far as the consistent monthly volumes of new clients who'd like to come in. A lot of the work we put in have been to kind of making it just a better onboarding experience. I'd say we probably have one of the best IRA onboarding experiences across any financial services platform, not just something in Bitcoin, because we've just kind of done the work to make the forms you fill out and the piece of information we have to collect, just make that all coherent and streamlined within our application. Before there might have been like DocuSigns and things, this or that, various pieces of things you have to get to us, but to have kind of one streamlined portal is a great advantage and good for the client experience.
So, to put it simply, they went from 0 IRA customers last year to, say, over 500 now. And that is really cool, man. Really cool. Okay, so let's talk about inheritance, right? None of us are going to die. But, the whole trust aspect of it, right? In inheritance, I know that is coming, right? Do you want to talk about the push that's going into that, or how you see this for people in the future? How do they leverage a company like Unchained for their trusts and estate planning and all these kind of other things that are really boring if you're a Bitcoiner, but it's a lot of times the most boring businesses are the best ones to invest in.
Yeah, so I agreed. Yeah, inheritance is such a key thing. It's definitely one of the number one or number two things someone comes to think about once they begin to have enough Bitcoin wealth to be meaningful to them, and then especially once they invest in their long-term storage solution like an Unchained Capital vault, that then they want to ensure, okay, how does this go to any beneficiaries or next of kin and things like that. So ways we invest in are, one, we have some very knowledgeable resources here. I mentioned Jeff Bandrew earlier for our IRAs. he's also definitely a spokesperson and somebody that's put out a lot of content on inheritance planning for Bitcoin and how it's treated, how to deal with the potential titling issues and the physical transfer of Bitcoin, things to be advised of. So we have put a lot of good content out there. And I say it's definitely one of the utmost things that we kind of get to provide for people is some place of trust for those remaining kin to go to or work with when it comes to releasing the Bitcoin. And it can be a confusing time if someone was passed and the remaining family members are trying to piece together, oh, didn't that's Bitcoin? Was it this? Oh, was it Unchained? And if they can find some evidence or some ways that they can get in touch with us and provide the necessary documentation, then there's ways that our team might be able to help should that person have been an Unchained client. So just kind of being there in that resource, that's a big peace of mind for people, provides comfort. And then the details of how certain things are set up, often that's something to still be advised by a estate planning counsel or estate planner on. But Unchained is playing a role in that process. Is something we definitely do for a lot of our clients.
So now, is that establishing its own sort of trust company? Because when you're in financial services, you often have maybe the trading is its own LLC, and you have kind of these things. Is that its own trust company, or is that just a product that you offer?
It's more of a I'd say from now it's more and more of a content offering, and then there's some productization that goes into it. We don't have a trust company. May someday in the future. You're correct that like certain areas of our business, like trading or others, might live in their own kind of entity. That's a part of Unchained, and that entity has the licenses for lending or licenses for money transmission. And the inheritance side, because not necessarily are we custodian of people's funds, we're not interested or we're not engaged in being a trust company.
So, okay, not to get too into the weeds on the inheritance and the trust stuff, but some of these tech companies that make it easy. I went through the process myself of trying to, right? But there's a lot of different things that you put in there, and there's your home, and there's this and that and the other thing. And as soon as it got to Bitcoin, it basically just broke the entire website and said, we don't want to talk to you anymore. So does this trust component, are you going to then work with pre-existing trusts that are out there, or are you going to like do the whole shebang with the house and the cars and everything else that kind of goes into it?
No, and I guess just kind of backing up a second, we don't do like trust or estate planning. Our product supports trusts as an account type. And so somebody having set up a trust and then they've got some assets in the name of that trust, they can have that trust have an account with Unchained. So then it's relatively easy to have statements and artifacts and things that evidence Bitcoin associated with that trust. And administrators or people who have rights into that trust can have accounts as well within Unchained, and might possess keys. So that's always kind of one. There's definitely layers to this kind of a thing between legally, how is a Bitcoin titled, whose is it, what will the legal system understand about how to just predispose on where some Bitcoin goes, or how it's to be moved around in certain instances. There's the physical keys, the actual access, the control of the Bitcoin. And then there might be something that's kind of intermediate or in the middle, like an Unchained account, that kind of helps with the labeling and helps with the cohering together of those artifacts. Bitcoin, so cool, right? It lives kind of ipso facto, or like it lives outside of a lot of these facts and this idea of legal systems. It is just out there as a different form of property. So kind of binding it together with financial services and these concepts of trusts and who owns what isn't part of the interesting challenge and intersection of being a business like Unchained.
So, all right, couple other things to touch on here that are coming that everyone knows and is excited about, or at least everyone uses and can be excited about. Now, payments, okay, and integrating Lightning and sort of not just saving, not just in the vault when you think of the multi-sig. I mean, it's not really, you're not really dipping in there often. So how would this look for Unchained when it happens here? And I know that this is kind of within the next maybe not immediate, but coming down the line. What does that look like, as well as maybe payments, merchant services, some other types of things?
Yeah, so it's still an underexplored area for us. I think Lightning's super fascinating. It's been exciting to watch its growth and witness the proliferation of different services and applications for Lightning and merchant adoption, certainly in a real sense. We do have it in the roadmap for next year. Can't really articulate, especially not publicly yet, quite what exactly our plans are. I will say, they do intersect with things like people's, regular accounts they have with Unchained. As a credit financing institution, we do think about credit products on Lightning. I think that's an interesting avenue for us to consider. So yeah, really trying to do whatever we can to I don't know, best provide something of value to our thousands of clients now that look to us for their Bitcoin financial services, and try to find that next thing, or the next most exciting thing that could live on Lightning or be part of the Lightning network and facilitate payments or something else for them, or a merchant, say.
Okay, so despite the price action and what's going on, vaults are at an all-time high. Now that's like that is like the core original. That is the OG Unchained product, right?
Originally, we started with lending loans. Actually, that was the very first product we like had a customer for. We started lending in back half of 2017, our Bitcoin secured loans. Even then, that was before we kind of really integrated with hardware wallets that clients could hold. And so it's kind of started with loans, Bitcoin backed loans. Within a year, launched a more of a multi-institution lending product that allows clients to hold a key. And then that really kind of set us on the course for vaults and our vaulting product that launched in 2019.
So growing at 225 or so, give or take, per month, that's a ton. And we had a question here about the difference between sort of the business versus personal. Is there a big need at this kind of early stage in Bitcoin for a lot of businesses to use these products, or is it mainly personal?
Definitely the most frequently open account type with us is personal. Business is a fraction, but still a sizable portion of the account types that get open. I'd say definitely multi-sig is really in a good fit with businesses that want controls, multiple people that have access to or segregated access to different parts of their Bitcoin treasury. And so whether that's different individuals, different locations for keys, or access to an account through which you administer or stage transactions for the use of those keys. That all that stuff is really something well managed through software, and something value add that Unchained can provide. So then one of our theses and ways we look at the space is that multi-sig for individuals, relatively a technology problem that might be increasingly commoditized, increasingly something done with more applications, more services, not always the most value additive thing that a software platform can do. We do more than that through Unchained platform. Us holding a key is certainly valuable. Us and the experienced people we have that can provide support, and the other ancillary financial services we provide, all kind of create an experience around your multi-sig setup as an individual. But businesses are a little different. They're just more complex. You have different user types, archetypes, account level controls. And so those are all things that come into play in a business setting that Unchained's platform is well suited for.
Okay, so I promise we're going to let you go here in just a minute. So everyone talks about your competitor or your closest competitor, Casa. They're not doing 90% of what we discussed on this call. But you said it yourself, that they are, everyone compares them as your closest competitor.
Yeah.
From a competitive aspect or some key differences, like what is the main difference there? Because they're just doing one product that you're doing. Do you want to just touch a little bit about a competitive landscape as a whole and address Casa?
Yeah, certainly on a like-for-like basis, like their offering, their core Vault offering is just like our Vault product as a multi-sig kind of account-based thing you can use. They differentiate on a number of factors, but you also really just hit on like our main differentiation as a company is Unchained is a financial services company. And that's something we accept, that we've invested in, and have been part of our DNA and makeup and mission really ever since day one. So those things come together for us in terms of building an integrated experience for our clients, which I think is great for people that our mission has always been to serve the long-term Bitcoin holder with all their financial services needs, especially when those people value self-custody and holding their own keys. So being that kind of home for the Bitcoin and ways they can access loans and lending or have a retirement account, deal with inheritance problems. These are also all things that are commonly served by clients, having an identity with Unchained, that we can know who they are, that they can, get our different financial services from us as a legal and regulated financial institution. But those things are value added in those type of cases.
Okay, so you have your crystal ball. It's 3 years from now. Okay, 3 to 5 years from now. What do you see as the bulk still of Unchained's revenue? And is there any plans to potentially move outside the U.S., or is this just a U.S. opportunity?
No plans to move out of the U.S. At present. I do think there's a fraction, more than 5%. I don't know if it's much more than 10% of our clients are actually, in fact, out of the United States. That's one of the neat things about being a non-custodial platform. That clients, anyone in the world, if they have their own 2 keys and can onboard with our platform, as long as they're not in an OFAC sanctioned country, they can maintain a vault with us. I think in the future, you will see us offer more financial services in jurisdictions outside the United States. It's kind of more of a compliance and bandwidth type of a question at that point. Beyond that, I'd say in the future, crystal ball wise, certainly trading has been one of the more growing and kind of robust revenue segments for us. We do anticipate significant growth there in the coming years. Lending probably do quite well, and certainly will. And retirement as well, I think is just a great business line. It's a great product, one of the best experiences. And so, I think of any of them to kind of maybe eke out into the first, we do predict potentially trading and clients that want to avail themselves of the convenience of buying Bitcoin directly into their vault. We believe we'll see more of that.
All right, cool. Well, they're a very well capitalized company with some all-star names on their cap table. They have a few years of runway, targeting profitability here, not too far in the distant future. And finally, in closing, I mean, what are you most excited about? Or what's one thing that you're excited about?
It's one thing that I'm excited about.
You're excited to get off this interview and get back to work, okay?
Nah, it's great to spend time with you, Mike. And part, sealing this round is cool. It's a good milestone for us. I think it's a round that's, I've been really excited about just the growth in the investor ecosystem of Bitcoin-oriented, Bitcoin-focused investors. Unchained, we're not as OG as even Zappo or BitGo or some of these companies that were like 2013 kind of class startups, but as a 2016, 2017 class startup, that's somewhat early still for Bitcoin. It's a nice era to have been started and still be around. And just the complete dearth of Bitcoin focused investors at that time, the number of people who just weren't gonna get past the first conversation if all you were was Bitcoin only. That was pretty much most of the market. And so we were fortunate enough to make some nice relationships and forge some investors that came in early and supported us in our vision. But it's really only now in these days they have people like 1031, Tramble Venture Partners, Lightning Ventures, and other folks like you that focus and bring together LPs and investor dollars in companies. So I really hope to be one of the biggest successes in all of those portfolios, so everyone can go raise more funds to invest in more Bitcoin companies, because that's good for everybody and really good for the ecosystem.
All right, very cool. Well, listen. Oh, by the way, Joseph, how many full-time you have on the team as of right now?
Around 100.
Wow. That is super impressive. By the way, I saw the presentation. I saw the multi-sig workshop at TabConf, and I am now confident. I'm confident in my own multi-sig skills now.
Hell yes. Great.
I'm not a big multi-sig guy, all right, because I don't have any Bitcoin. So, but once I get some Bitcoin, I'm going to open up an account. All right, Joseph, thanks for hanging out with us and letting us participate. Appreciate you taking the time.
My pleasure, Mike.